So it's nearly time to get preparing for my autumn marathon. So next Monday will signal 15 weeks until the Abingdon Marathon. Now this time in my last marathon training block where I was building towards London 24, I was already 5 weeks into my marathon training, and right now I'm currently still doing very short and sharp 5 and 10k speed work. My long runs were already well established into the 90+ minute realm, whereas right now I'm only up to 80 minutes. And this time last year my speed workouts were bigger in volume compared to this time during this training block. So am I worried that I'm not going to get into shape? Well, today I'm going to be sitting down and talking to you guys about the preparation that I'm starting to put in towards that marathon. So just for some context, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in a previous video, but as of July the 29th, that's when I'm going to be locking in to proper marathon training, and that's going to be a 12-week build. Now with London Marathon, when I was working with Coach Will, I did a 20-week build, and those first 8 weeks I should say, before really locking in at 12 weeks, we're kind of that gap bridging section where I was doing short, sharp stuff like I am now. Things had started to get extended. The long run was extending, as I just mentioned, and I was getting ready to launch into marathon training. And I haven't had that section and won't have that section of my training before this build. But there are things I'm doing and will be doing leading up to July 29th to hopefully make sure I'm ready to attack these 12 weeks with venom. And I also stated before at the beginning of the year that I was going to be running 2 marathons this year. I wanted to take the London Marathon training block quite relaxed, and with that illness and everything that happened back then, that marathon training block didn't go to plan. But I always said that in this autumn marathon training block, this is where I wanted to give it a good go. This is where I really wanted to knuckle down, set myself a really good goal. I'm not going to set myself necessarily a time goal, but I am going to say that I will be shooting for a PB, and I really want to give this marathon training block a good go. So things are going to be changing, and I want to dive in and talk about that to hopefully get me into that position where I can run a faster time come October the 20th. And as much as right now I am finding it quite hard to comprehend what is to come during a marathon training block, because I am actually really enjoying this speed block that I'm undertaking right now, I do have to get myself prepared, and I do need to get myself in the mindset that come July 29th, I want to lock in and really give this one a good go. So without further ado, let's jump in and I'll share with you these 5 things that I want to talk about today. Now, the first thing that I wanted to get prepared for was to get a consistent training block under my belt, which, tick, goal achieved. Very, very happy with that. And actually, I haven't been thinking about the marathon training, as I alluded to earlier in this video, at all during this speed block. And I'm still now struggling to comprehend that I'm going to be getting into that, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing so much at the moment. But I am also excited for marathon training. It is my favorite type of training. I love those longer runs. I love those longer workouts. But right now, I'm just completely locked in to this speed work. For me, though, it was all about getting 10 weeks of good work under my belt, good consistent work, and I've done it, and I'm so happy. And the reason that's so important for me is because in my last marathon build, where I got my PB back in Newport last year, I got a 10k block, a half marathon block, and then a marathon block completed with very little interruption, very little moving around. It was really straight through training, really for almost 4, 5, 6 months, I think it was. It was brilliant, and I got myself into good shape, worked on the speed, extended it with the half marathon work, extended it again for the marathon work. Now, although I haven't got that speed extension and the time to do that for this block, I have got the consistency back, because at the beginning of this year, due to the illnesses, my Strava graph was all over the place. I couldn't get that consistency going. It was very stop-start in the latter stages of that block, and I knew that off the back of London, I just had to come off there, reset, regroup, and just get solid training under my belt, because ultimately what myself and loads of other people say is you get better by stacking training block on top of training block on top of training block, along with smart training. And so that's all I aim to do, just to get more training blocks under my belt. And I'm 1 week away from getting this one complete, which I'm very happy with. So that is a goal achieved. And the second thing that I'm trying to mentally prepare for is the long run. And what's been going through my mind with this training block is I want to be in a position to be able to kickstart those long runs really well, because when I always start a 12-week block, 9 times out of 10, I usually start with a 2-hour moderate long run just to get myself used to it. And when I say moderate, I mean steady. So it is just below the aerobic threshold, zone 2, whatever you want to call it. Now for me, I always tend to suffer after that run, but it's a good wake up call. And the thing is, I need to be in a position where I can just go out there and run that 2 hour long run, because in the build up to that, I have run 90 minutes, 1 hour 45, just to get myself ready to take that step up. Obviously right now, I'm nowhere near that. I haven't run over 80 minutes since my London Marathon training box. So what's that been like? A couple of months now, maybe even 3. So I'm just not there. But the beauty of what I guess I have been doing with this double threshold training through the summer so far, spring and summer, is I've been covering between 20 to 22 miles a day on a Tuesday. So although I've broken it up into effectively 2 10 or 11 mile runs, I've been covering a good amount of distance in that day. And what that's meant is my 80-minute runs have felt easier than they ever have done before. I feel really good, and actually I feel really aerobically strong. So I feel like I'm kind of ticking that box myself already. However, there is one thing that I will aim to do between the end of the Saucony London 10K and the start of the July the 29th. I've got a 2-week window. Now this weekend, I'll probably end up bumping up to 90 minutes, and then in between, in that 2-week period, I'm probably going to end up pushing another 90 and another 1 hour, and a 1 hour 45, I should say. So I'm just going to get myself almost acclimatized to it before getting to that point. And I just want to be in a position where I can get to the 2 hour long run and actually not feel quite as shocked as I do in previous marathon training blocks. So that is another sort of mini goal that I have to get myself prepared. And the third thing I'm preparing for is a little bit of a structure change. Now, what I have done over the last couple of marathon training blocks was something slightly different. Monday, easy. Tuesday, medium long run, and then an easy in the evening, so a double that day. Wednesday, session, and that was a short, fast session. Thursday, rest day. Friday, moderate run, steady run, zone 2. And then Saturday, long run workout. Sunday, rest. That's worked really well for me, but what I am keen to do is go back to doing 2 midweek sessions and then a long run workout. Now that's something that I know a lot of people do, and I also have done a lot myself in the past. And if I add up all my marathon training blocks over the years, that's probably the format that I've done the most. But obviously I'm going to be tweaking it this time, because the more marathon training blocks you do, you work out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So although I've not got anything in concrete as to what those sessions will be on those days, that's something I'm going back to. And the thing I've been doing to prepare myself for this is to do my long run, which I'm doing at the moment 80 minutes. I'm pushing it slightly. I'm making the intensity slightly more than I normally would. Now my heart rate's coming out still in the zone 2 effort, but I'd say it's more top end of zone 2, and I am creeping into that zone 3 area. And bearing in mind the day before I'm doing a session, so my current summer structure is Monday easy, Tuesday double threshold, usually Wednesday rest, Thursday easy, Friday session, short, sharp speed workout. So it's small in volume, but it's the real top end stuff. Saturday, moderate long run, and then Sunday rest. And that Saturday, I really am pushing, and I'm trying. It's not something I've been doing all the block, but about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I thought to myself, do you know what, it'd be quite useful to push that a little bit, because you're going to be doing more intensity when it comes to the marathon training, albeit controlled intensity, because I'm not going to be thrashing every single session. Every session will have a purpose. A lot of them will be at marathon effort. So they're not kind of all out sessions, and obviously recovery will be key and all of that stuff. But by doing that, I'm teaching my body a little bit to be working a bit more on tired legs. I'm pushing a bit more, and yeah, I feel like at the moment it's working quite well. My heart rate, as I said, is a decent heart rate for the efforts that I'm putting in. And last week I really did push up a really long hill in my long run, and then I just kept my foot on the gas for that second half of the long run. And to be honest with you, I felt really, really good. So that is another thing that I'm kind of trying to prepare my body for, albeit I can't prepare for the duration of these workouts. I am trying to push the intensity a little bit more. And number 4, in terms of preparation, I haven't really spoken about this, but I've not stopped using running gels. Now, again, this will only be applicable for you guys if you follow the channel for a while, but you know that I used to suffer with really bad stitches, and I've kind of got over that issue now. It was kind of like a breathing diaphragm issue, where I was kind of crunching over and crushing my diaphragm, and anything I was trying to take on, I was just getting a stitch immediately. Well, after a lot of core work and doing weekly strength and conditioning work, which I still do at home now twice a week, core work, upper back, all of that stuff. It's made the world a difference, and it has changed my running form, and I feel very grateful that that issue is behind me. Now, I haven't been taking these gels on my runs, but what I have been doing is been spending way too much money on running gels to have on the mornings of some of my workouts. So you'll see in my running videos, in my weekly training series, I'm necking a shot of Ketone IQ before my workout. But before I leave the house, I'm having a gel there just to give me something, because what I have to do on some mornings, I don't have anything on my easy mornings or my steady mornings, but on a session morning, I like to give my body something, but it's still a case of get up and get out the door within 20 minutes. I don't have time to make food or anything like that. So I've been taking a gel every single time before a session. Again, the idea there is just to get something in my stomach so my stomach's not empty, get some calories on board, albeit it's not a lot, and the sessions I'm doing don't warrant me to take a gel mid-session, but I'm just trying to get my stomach used to them. I've fallen foul over the last couple of marathons where I just can't get that last gel on board. It's another thing I'm going to be working on during this marathon training block, and to be honest with you, I'm just hoping that if I persist with this, it will just help with my stomach getting used to it. So yes, it's an expensive way of fueling, but for me, it's still about that long-term process of getting my stomach used to it, practicing with them, and having them really shortly before me going out the door. And on the top of that as well, I've been having them before my races, 5 and 10K races, within half an hour of the start. Normally I just do that in a marathon. I've now started doing that for my 5 and 10Ks, so I've done that throughout the summer so far as well. So just throwing the gels in where I can. And the fifth and final thing that I want to do in my training, and this is kind of more half a point really, to be honest with you, but it is something that I am consciously going to do, is use those 2 weeks in between the Saucony London 10K and starting the block to just throw in a couple of longer runs. Now, I mentioned that in the third point about extending my long run, but I don't just mean the long run. I mean, I'm going to probably do a session that's slightly more extended, rather than at the moment my 4 or 5 mile, well, and actually they're not even hitting 5 miles, 4 mile volume sessions. I might hit something that's more like 6 or 7 miles. So really start to extend it out and just throw a couple of longer, meatier sessions in there. Just to see where my body's at and see how transition's going to be, because that might affect the first week of training. Because obviously my last training block I did before Newport, as I said, I went 10K half full, and so I had that time to extend 10K to half, so the rep length went a bit longer, the sessions went a bit longer, and then I could extend it again. I don't have that time with this. I'm going straight from full speed to marathon training, so I'm going to use that. But as a caveat, I do have a race in those 2 weeks, so I don't want to overcook it. It's in the second week, so I don't want to overcook it in those 2 weeks, and I don't want to tire myself out, because I do want to give that race a good go. And so yeah, if you follow me on Strava, you might start to see an extension of a few runs there. So yeah, just watch out for that one. It's just something that, again, for me personally, I want to get prepared for that, so that when I hit that first week, it all comes down to, as I said earlier, that 2-hour moderate run. I don't want it to feel like a slog. And so there we go. Those are the 5 things that I'm preparing myself for, have been doing, will be doing, leading up to the start of this Abingdon Marathon training block. I am going to be honest with you and say I'm fully locked into what I'm in right now. Normally, and again, if you follow the channel for a while, I have a habit of looking beyond that goal race and going, oh, but I'm excited about that race and that race and that race. I'm excited about getting into that training block. And I said, as I was getting to the end of London, I'm really looking forward to Summer Speed. I cannot wait to get into it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am really, really locked into this right now. I'm loving it. And when I've got this marathon training block done, I'm going to be going straight back to the shorter stuff. I'm trying to see this as a 10-week speed block, a 12-week marathon block, and then over winter, get back to that speed. Really use November, December, and January to, a good 3 months of double threshold work probably, but also keeping that speed work in there as well, ready for whatever might happen in spring. So yeah, that's it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'd love to hear if you're embarking on an autumn marathon. I've got a couple of athletes doing Chicago Marathon and a few other marathons in the autumn, so I'd love to hear if you guys are training for an autumn marathon as well. Do drop it in the comments below. Let me know if you started, because actually for a lot of you guys, you've probably already started your 16-week plans if you're on a 16-week plan, or if you're on a 12-week plan or shorter or whatever. Let me know. It'd be great to hear from you. It'd be great to hear your marathon you're training for and when you plan to start that proper training. That's it from me today, guys. I hope hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and I'll see you on the next one.